Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are, ladies, gentlemen, or whoever you are. Welcome once again to Nerd Week Live here on YouTube, here on Facebook Live, and here on Twitch. Everywhere you could possibly join in and join with us to chat about nerd news from the past week. Once again, this is being brought to you by the folks here at Nerd Caliber. Evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is. Once again, my you are, sound is ladies, on. Gentlemen. Stop that. Anyway, my apologies for that. I am Rodney Brown, the person who can never remember to turn his sound off on his own YouTube feed, and also the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber and first-person shooter as a photographer on Facebook, Burley_adopter on the Twitters. Joining me tonight is, let's see, we're going to go in order of whiteness and beard. So I've introduced myself. Greg, introduce yourself.
That was one of the more interesting segue setups I've had, if ever, perhaps. Hi, everybody. Greg Snyder, aka Wonder Llama, cosplay, photography, precious little of either of those things at the moment. Longtime editor and associate editor at, or I should just say associate editor, at Nerd Caliber. Wish we had anything to plug here tonight. We're just talking about stuff, and
we do. I do, but we'll get to that.
That's true. That's
All
true.
right.
We do actually.
And the other gentleman with a beard, the beautiful, dark, majestic, no white or gray in it whatsoever beard. Introduce yourself, sir.
So that's not true. I actually have two gray hairs right here, Bob and Jerry, and then some salt and pepper coming in here. Hey, look, don't give me the violin. Us Latinos love spice, so salt and pepper works fine for all of us.
All right, we'll buy that.
Hey everyone, it's Luis Correa, Crash a Photos co-producer at Nerd Caliber. It's great to be back as always. Anytime that I can pop into the chat and have discourse and bust some balls and things like that, it's always fun for me. It's good for everyone. We all have good laughs. I'm hoping that we have some great conversations tonight, so please feel free to jump in with the comments, give us some info, anything you guys want to chime in on with anything that we say with the topics that are coming up.
Exactly, and along those lines, it's time to say hello to people, and just to give you a heads up, folks, my allergies are really bad. If I mess up your name, it's because I can barely read it, even on my 27-inch monitor that's about 10 inches away from my face. So, Melissa, welcome to the show. Flufaz, welcome to the show. Pimora, welcome to the show. General Zero, yada yada. I would do a JoJo thing, but I'm sitting down and I'm too old. And April, welcome to the show. Ronald OMG, welcome to the show. It is starting right now, or actually it started a few minutes ago, depending on how long the lag is. Real quickly, we'll check to see if we've got anybody on Twitter yet. Not yet, and doesn't look like we've got anybody on Facebook Live yet either. So that's all our hellos for the moment. The thing I'm going to plug is we have, along with, we being Nerd Caliber, along with the Covenator, Pat Covey, the hardest working man in cosplay contests, put together the Summer Cosplay Contest Series. It's a series of online-only cosplay contests that the first qualifier for the finals will be June 28th. Registration is open. Go to our website, nerdcaliber.com, and you'll see the Summer Cosplay Contest Series link. And all the information about how to register is there. 50 people max, so if you're interested, go there, sign up. 18 plus in North America. And if you are a Best in Show winner, you cannot enter with the costume that won you Best in Show. You can enter, you just have a different costume. Prizes will be awarded. June and July winners will go to the finals August 22nd, which will be after the August qualifiers, and the three winners from all of those will go up against each other for the big grand prize. It's going to be awesome. We already got a lot of good signups. Part of it, you have to send us photos, and the photos that I've seen so far are just wonderful. So if you're interested in watching all the information is at that link, nerdcaliber.com. Or if you're interested in participating, that's where you get all the information, the rules, the link to the Google form, etc. So we hope to see a bunch of you in our chats. We hope to see, the chat will be live streamed on our YouTube, which is what most of you are on right now, and on the Covenators Twitch stream. So those will be the two places you get to see it. But again, the links to both of those will be in that post on our website, nerdcaliber.com. So, starting right off, our very first topic is not what's showing up in my window right now. So let's move that. There we go. So folks, that's a comic book panel, or a couple of panels. It's the top of a page of a comic book from way back when, in 1970, Green Lantern, Green Arrow. And it was written by Dennis O'Neil, or Denny O'Neil, as he is known. Denny O'Neil passed away this past week. He is a writer, editor, a legend. He passed away at the age of 81, and that's very sad news for anybody who loved comics from that Silver Age. But the reason I chose this particular image is that back in 1970, Denny O'Neil and a few other people like him, similar writers like Jerry Conway and so on Spider-Man, pulled DC for Denny O'Neil and Marvel Comics into the real world, addressing real issues. And this is a panel in which a black person in New York City, it's not New York City because it's DC, but a black person calling out Hal Jordan for saving every color alien race that you can ever think of and doing nothing for the black man. And it was mind-opening. It was just fantastic. And Denny O'Neil, that was part of what made him such a good writer. He never shied away from, and in fact, he sort of forced this awareness onto his own editors, and then kept it going when he was an editor. So I was a huge fan, in part because of the Neil Adams art. I'm a Neil Adams just as far as, one of my favorite artists of all time. But he was almost always paired with Denny O'Neil back then in the 70s. And I read more DC from like 69 to 72 than I've ever read any time since, in my life, because of the quality of both the art and the writing. They created Ra's al Ghul together, just a fantastic team, and Denny O'Neil is a fantastic writer. Guys, anybody have a particularly favorite Denny O'Neil comic? Do you, what do you know of him?
Honestly, I don't know anything of him. It sucks really, but like when I got into comics, I never really got into the writers and the artists until much later on in life. So it was mostly just like, this is a comic book, this is something I'm going to enjoy. That's as far as it went. Like I only really started knowing anyone until like around Gail Simone.
Well, it's a good one to know.
There you
go. Greg, anything?
Kind of in the same boat. I wasn't, the point where I was really consuming a lot of comic books. I wasn't really aware of much beyond the story. And I think I kind of moved from comics to novels at some point, and it was definitely much less aware of comic book authors at that stage. So, based on what you're saying, sounds like somebody worth going back and checking out again. I think my Comixology account would appreciate a visit. I haven't been there in a little while.
I can strongly recommend any of his work, but particularly his work with Neil Adams during that run in the Green Lantern, Green Arrow, because he wrote. It's interesting. He wrote Hal in the way you can envision Hal. He was a test pilot. He was pretty conservative. He was a military guy, and Ollie has always been, if not very left liberal, a straight up socialist, actually an anarchist by the time The Dark Knight Rises comes out. We have some more people. Pimnara, welcome to the show. Yuki, welcome to the show. So yeah, check it out. Comixology. Go to your comic book store if you're getting out, if you're braving stuff like that, and if the comic book store is doing proper, masking, cleaning, and social distancing. Otherwise, order it from Comixology or order it from your comic book store if they have delivery or curbside pickup, like our good friends at Double Midnight do. Not a paid plug. We just like those guys. So yeah, check it out. Very sad for, big condolences to Denny O'Neil's family and his comic book family. Everybody that I can see, that everything I've read, loved Dennis O'Neil. There's no skeletons in that closet that we know of. Moving on to a related topic, and this is Bat family related, but it's a rumor still, just a rumor, about Batwoman, and it's, I think, kind of not a good one. That is Vanessa begins with an M. Morgan. Thank you. And if I was a Riverdale stan, I would know that, but I watched some of the first season and then just didn't take it. But Vanessa Morgan is a regular on the show Riverdale, and she is rumored to be currently the top choice to take over the lead role in Batwoman as the non-Kate Kane Batwoman. That is kind of problematic. It's wonderful that they would decide to go with a person of color. It's problematic is that they've already stated that they are specifically going for somebody who is LGBTQ, and as far as I can tell, Vanessa isn't. The character that they've created that's going to be replacing Kate Kane is supposedly an out lesbian, and it's possible that Vanessa is bi. I don't know about that, but she is married to a man, so she is bi or heterosexual. What she is not is she is not a Ruby Rose. She is not a proud, loud, and out lesbian. So,
and they specifically said it was for her to play as Batwoman or just to be on the show?
No, this is the replacement for Batwoman. The character's name, I forgot. We talked about this last week. But
it was like something
Ryan Wilder.
Ryan Wilder, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so
brand new character, not trying to recast Kate Kane, creating a brand new character who will supplant, I guess.
Yeah. It's just a weird thing because she could be bi or heterosexual or consider herself queer. We don't really know for certain, so it's kind of throwing like darts at a wall at the moment as to how she herself defines herself.
True. I would assume she's not queer if she's married to a male, but that's an assumption on my part. Everything's fluid.
Who do marry men.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it does happen, and it frequently actually, for a lot of different reasons, but it is a thing.
All right. Well, if that's the case, I would think that she would have put out, or Warner Brothers would have put out a statement, or CW or somebody, to that effect.
Maybe. I think it's one of those situations where it's. Well, I'm just gonna spitball here, really. So, just opinion, to be clear. I think with with how it is and the direction that they're going and whatever, maybe they just haven't said anything yet because they definitely want to secure the idea first and like have everything ready to go before they make any announcements or anything like that. Because they don't want anything to fall through or any other hundreds of things that can happen in terms of casting and setup. So it'd be kind of like premature to be like, yeah, she's gonna be Batwoman, and also let's go talk about things that she might not be comfortable talking about.
Yeah, and okay, to your point, it is a rumor too. So any of our speculation about whether or not she is fitting the choices that they said they were going to make is kind of pointless speculation anyway.
Also, did the rumor? Please don't tell me the rumor came from We Got This Covered.
No, God, please, no.
I'll delete the stream right now.
Yeah, no, we don't do that. This was actually from The Escapist.
There.
So the new Escapist, definitely more reliable than We Got This Covered or the others. And I just realized that I had not actually turned on the Facebook Live stream, even though we've been streaming into it, until just a few minutes ago, and we already have. Reese, welcome to the show. Hope to see you at a con sometime soon if you know, any of us ever get to go to one, or dare to go to one in the future.
I'll take photos from the outside.
That's true. There's always outside, you know, get that long lens and stand 20 feet away.
You know what? We need to get the Nerd Caliber Pope Mobile. This is the giant, the giant sneeze guard on 4 wheels. We could just take photos from drive by.
I think that would be.
I'll make some calls.
Yuki, will there be more cosplay on the stream? We almost never do cosplay on our live nerd news show because the show is about talking about nerd news that came up in the past week. There's always more cosplay on the website and on the YouTube channel. In fact, website, I just did another in our retrospective gallery that I'm calling Black Lives Matter profile of cosplayers of color doing characters of color. And I believe we just posted up on the YouTube channel a profile and interview with Carly Wynn, I think. Anyway, check that out. I think it was just a couple of days ago. So, yes, always more cosplay. Just not here. That's not what we do on this particular live stream. Well, that's not true. Greg has actually done the cosplay, the live stream in cosplay before. So, but most of us don't. And moving on to yet more DC-related news. So this and our next topic is pretty much simply about more movement in the rescheduling of the premiere dates of big, you know, tentpole movies. Wonder Woman 1984 was supposed to be in August. Well, Christopher Nolan's Tenet moved, and so now Wonder Woman is going to be premiering in October 2nd. In theory, unless they put it off into 2021, or go straight to, you know, the new HBO Max. But they're still planning on having a big movie release, and they're planning right now on it being October 2nd. So, yeesh.
I don't like it, but I'm willing to wait for it.
Yeah, same. I mean, that's a notoriously shitty time of the year to release movies. I mean, I think there'll be enough pent-up demand that people will go watch, you know, if there's a third Trolls movie, they'll flock to that. But yeah, I mean, for something that's the budget, the word of mouth, etc., that's not a great time of the year. But I know 1, 2, 3 of us will be seeing it in the beginning of October.
This is true. Well, maybe. Now, depends on what the COVID situation is by that point. So,
True.
I don't know about you folks in the audience or any of the other three of you guys, or two of you guys. 3 of you, my eyes are that bad right now. But if things aren't really much better, I'm probably not going to sit in a crowded theater. I'll be honest.
No. I mean, it's just it's a virus that's been mutating. Like, I'm not gonna go sit in a goddamn movie theater, no matter how fantastic the damn movie is, with a virus that I'll even throw out a random number because people like got freaking numbers all the time. Like, we barely less than 50% understand how it operates at this point.
Yep. And even now we experts, because I'm not an expert, still aren't sure exactly how safe you are if you've already caught it and had it and have the antibodies. I mean, they still can't say 100% whether or not you can get reinfected. You know, that's that's a problem, folks. But anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's all I was agreeing with you.
The sort of the double, I don't know what you want to call it, double down, double something.
Double stuff Oreo?
Yeah, I really am out of it tonight here. They may be willing to release it, but by all accounts, there may not be a whole lot of movie theaters still open. Between studios deciding to pull or push back theatrical releases and going to their, in-house streaming service. I've seen stories about AMC saying, we may not be solvent at the other end of this, whenever that may be. Showcase has said things similar. I'm not as familiar with chains that aren't around the sort of New York, New England area, but, they've all got to be in the same boat.
Yeah, it's tough, and I feel for them. I really do. But it's literally something that we as citizens don't inherently have control over. Like, we can't go fund literally everything.
Yeah. Luminous, welcome to the show. And Luminous says movies keep getting delayed. Some have moved back to full year. Unfortunately, I do not plan to go to a theater until after the virus is gone. I'm still hiding in my basement. This is not my basement, but yeah. No.
Yeah. And let's be real here, real quick. The virus will never be gone. It's the new normal. It's never going to be gone. There's just going to be ways to treat it better, more effectively. Hopefully, in 2-3 years, there'll be like 15 other vaccines. I saw something today about a new a current drug that actually has been successful in treating it. So we'll see. Stay optimistic.
Yep.
Yep.
Yuki, we hate the virus too.
We're all going to be dead from North Korean nukes long before the virus can kill us. So.
Oh, that's a wonderful thought. Greg said hello to a couple of people that I don't see in the chat on Facebook Live.
They were there earlier.
Oh, okay. Well,
saw Katie join and Dave, so I said hello, but they may have popped off already.
All right. Well, welcome, assuming you're still there. All right. Moving on to our next topic, and yet another movie that has been delayed. That, of course, are the wonderful people in The Matrix. And whether or not they took the red pill or the blue pill, you won't get to see them until 2022. Matrix 4 was supposed to be coming out, I believe, in 2021. Yeah, May 2021. And now it's moved almost an entire year. April 1st, 2022. Oh, that's a great time to release a movie.
I could understand that kind of shift there, because like all the Matrix movies were heavy in all terms, not just stunt work, but like CGI work and all types of stuff. I mean, they pioneered the whole like spinning camera movement. I forgot there's a specific name for it, but
bullet time.
No, that's what it was called in the show. But the sequence of connecting the cameras to go in an arc, there's a specific term or a thing for it.
Yeah, that's
that they pioneered. But anyways,
okay. Bullet time is actually the name for that sequence. Yeah, not in movie, but in real life.
So I can see with all of that and everything that it's pushing it back is it's gonna need that extra time to be polished. And honestly, I'm a big fan of The Matrix. I've always been. I played the MMO that most people don't even freaking remember that was supposed to be a canon continuation of the movie. Neo was there. And so I've been eagerly waiting for the next movie to come out so that I can probably never try to squeeze myself back into pleather costumes.
I did a pair of pleather leggings for a thing at Dragon Con last year, and it's super comfortable until you take them off, and then you regret all of your decisions.
Man, non-scented KY, man, gets in everywhere.
Yeah.
No, a lot of cornstarch, a lot of baby powder.
Oh yeah, that's great, because that, once you start sweating, that literally turns into glue.
Makes a nice slurry.
Yep. Ooh. Yuki, good night. Thanks for joining. Have a good night. But yeah, so you're right, Lewis. Obviously, it's super effects heavy. It's going to take an enormous amount of post-production work, and who knows what else has gotten in the way with any of the people that they know are coming back in the interim. So
yeah.
Yeah, it just sucks. I mean, it's not, it's not, oh my God, how could you do this to us? Pardon me. It's, for me anyway, just, well, damn. I was actually pretty much looking forward to this, hoping that they could, like, recover from Matrix Revolutions, which wasn't the best way to end a trilogy. But,
Oh, yeah. You weren't a fan of the... it's funny, real quick here, but part of the reason why Revolutions ended that way was because it was supposed to transition into the MMO that I mentioned, because the MMO was a literal continuation of the movies, to the point where, like, some of the producers and stuff like that actively participated in live events as characters within the Matrix to move it forward. So it was like almost like a visual novel continuing, like when Morpheus died in the game, he literally died in their canon universe.
So I was initially going to poo-poo that concept, but then I remember how incredibly invested Warner Brothers was at that time in their MMO products, in Lord of the Rings Online, in their, in the intersection of their gaming worlds and their other entertainment worlds. And you know what? Now I don't know that I would necessarily dismiss that. I think that that
you can look it up. It's actually in archives. It was a literal canon continuation of the movie of Revolutions.
Oh no, I don't doubt that. I mean, it seems to me odd that a movie studio, which almost never thinks about anything except movie studios, would allow storytelling, script, and other changes and functions within a movie to be made just to intersect with something not movie. But then, as I said, I remember just how incredibly deeply connected Warner Brothers was between movies and other MMO franchises like Lord of the Rings Online at the time. And so, yeah, all right.
I mean, one of the big billing things about the MMO was exactly that. When they were pushing it, like, when the revolution ends, so does the battle or the war begin, and you can affect the story of the Matrix. Like, they really sold that nonsense. And you know what? I gun Kata's my way halfway through the damn game. So
let's Colin, welcome to the show. Lucy, welcome to the show. And hey, Colin, and oof, Lucy. So whatever the oof is for. Moving on to our next topic. This is, of course, near and dear to all of our hearts, but particularly Lewis's. The final, I believe it's final, Season 2 trailer for Doom Patrol dropped, and it's really trippy. Well, it's Doom Patrol, so of course it's trippy, but it's really cool. They do a great job of showing you the characters as though you have not seen Season 1. So it's a trailer that looks like it's designed to sort of draw people in that haven't seen Season 1, but also let enough people who have seen Season 1 know this is a continuation and get hype. So, Lewis, come on. What do we think?
Oh, I mean, I'll sing the praises of Doom Patrol forever, man. I love Doom Patrol. I'm super hyped for Season 2. Like, it's just, everything in it is just amazing. I really can't pick out a weak episode, to be honest. Maybe I'm biased there. I'm probably biased there. I'm sure someone can point out a weak episode, but like the kookiness and all the weirdness of the comic book is completely in there. It's funny as hell, but I think one of the things that I keep beating on everyone, to be honest, is on there all the silliness and all the awkward jokes and really goofy shit. Like, there is a lot of heavy lifting behind the scenes. There's a lot of diversity. There's a lot of LGBTA plus stuff in there. There's a lot of awesome character development. They talk about so many things, like how it's weird, but it's like being a Brendan Fraser's character, being someone who was a celebrity and a terrible father, and how to be a father, and what's the best choice now that you're in a situation where you no longer can be that father. Like, there's so many things. The way they broke down like psychosis and sexual assault and things like that, and we're incredibly respectful of those topics, not just like halfway floating into it. Like, watch it, man. Get in there, watch it. I want to see a season 3 and 4 of this show because it's worth it. It's incredibly worth it, and we need shows like that.
Here and here. He says, still having not finished season 1. I will.
Where is that available?
It is DCU, or it will be on the upcoming HBO Max. So, DC Universe streaming service.
Might be on Max already, actually.
I got that. I mean, I have
thought they were supposed to
HBO,
launch.
so...
I think it launches June in the 20s, like June 21st or 2nd.
Season 2, but I mean season 1.
Oh yeah, yes, I'm sure it's already on HBO Max to stream if you've got HBO Max. But it is also on DCU, which is where it started. Flashcord on Twitch, welcome. He's apparently very pleased at the idea of seeing Crash and Pleather. So, yay for that.
I mean, me too, I guess.
And Luminous...
looking in the direction of the camera.
Luminous says, well, before we do that, Colin, the miles in the thumbnail is pretty cool. Yes, it is, and we're going to get to that. That's pretty much our last topic. So hang around for that. But Luminous says, did Nerd Week Live talk about the Bill and Ted trailer? We didn't, and I don't know why I didn't put that on the agenda this week.
Allergies, man. Allergies.
So real quickly, I'm just going to say that trailer I found to be really meh. Yep. I'm still jazzed for the movie. It made me less so, and that shouldn't be what happens with a trailer. Anybody else?
Honestly, I liked it. I thought it was all right. Like, I'm not going to pretend that I was like super hyped. Like, I love Bill and Ted, the first movies, but it's never been like, I've never had those obsessive fandom urges like Ghostbusters
and people like
there
that.
One about battles in space.
Yeah.
So the wars that occur out there among the stars.
Yeah. Nebula battles, I think it's called.
Nebula battles.
Anyways, but like,
just like Elvira, hi, welcome to the show.
Seeing death was like, I was like, ah.
So that was the best part of the entire trailer is seeing. Oh, I can't remember the actor's name. Wonderful character actor, coming back as Death, and honestly, and granted, I'm sure it's all the makeup, but honestly, he looked better than anybody else, in that. And I think that's part of the problem is that it doesn't look, even though the story and clearly Bill and Ted's world and how they interact with it has changed, those two characters haven't at all.
Yeah.
And that's A, unbelievable, and B, they can't do that anymore. Certainly Keanu Reeves can't. It's just so jarring to hear John Wick talk like like 1980 whatever Keanu Reeves. That really pulled me out. That was one of the problems I had with it.
Yeah.
That I understand your point of view there, but that didn't bother me at all because I never take one property into another.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I always view it as whatever the actor is being the character of that time. And like the only thing that really just, I would say, if I was to say one thing that bothered me about the trailer is just like, what the hell did you do after the second movie that did you just like, we're like, oh man, we're just gonna sit on these laurels and that's it? Because like the whole end of the other movie was like they were playing Mars and doing all this other shit, and Death left the band and came back. Like there was all this. So what the hell what happened?
Phone booth inner space meltdown problems.
I'm pretty sure
Gum broke from the antenna and they got stuck in the interstitial space. I don't know. I got nothing.
Yeah,
here.
it was a 20-year long DDoS attack.
Where's
There
the
you go.
where the princess is? Clearly the daughters are there, but where's the princess
Yeah.
is?
Exactly. That's what happened to the moms.
They're both married to Ted from How I Met Your Mother.
Elvira, hi. We've said that before. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not a big fan of people spamming our chat because that means I can't see questions when they come up. So that's enough highs. Thank you. But Melissa, hi, if you're replying to Elvira.
I did not see anything that would indicate this in the trailer, but to me, the only thing that would make it interesting of the two of them doing the whole shtick from 20 years ago is if it was, if they just, I don't want to say satirized it, but if it was, kind of turned into a funny commentary on what happens when you try and hang on to that for way too long and you just can't grow up.
And if there was any indication of that in the trailer, I would have just flipped my opinion right around. Please tell me that that's what this story is about, and you're not just going to try to take two men who literally stopped in any kind of growth or development for 20 years and essentially put them in even the same clothes and go, here they are again. Like, but anyway.
All right, so very, very, very quick sidetrack. So your point about not seeing John Wick doing the SoCal stoner routine is jarring. Have you ever seen Dangerous Liaisons?
Yeah.
Glenn Close and John Malkovich. Do you remember that he was in that?
Yes. Yeah. He was
a couple of years
supposedly the young lover of Uma Thurman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he was another one of the pawns in their game. It was very funny to see Bill S. Preston doing basically Shakespeare. Very amusing. So
yes,
if anybody's on here and wants a good chuckle, that's a. You know what? That might be we were talking about Twitter beefs. That would be the original Twitter beef, was John Malkovich and Glenn Close. Anyway, sorry about the sidetrack there.
And also, that part is funny. The rest of that movie isn't terribly funny.
Oh no, it's not funny. It's vicious and brutal and wicked, in a good way.
Speaking of vicious and brutal and wicked, our next topic is about this right here, and that is I tried to find actually something from the manga, and that's pretty close to the manga, but that's actually one of the very first early promo drawings of the Promised Neverland anime from the manga. But the news is not about anime or manga. It's about the fact that Amazon is going to be doing a live action adaptation of the manga.
That's something.
Well, before you go, Death Note, one, it's Amazon, but two, the people behind it. So it's Masaoka from Heroes, Japanese native himself, writer and director of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Rodney Rothman. It's Vertigo Entertainment. So Rothman is going to be the producer. One of the writers of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Megan Malloy, is going to write the pilot. This has got a big set of names. It's exactly not the way I wanted to say that. The names behind this are quality people. It's Amazon, not Netflix, and they can avoid all of the whitewashing because all of the characters in the Promised Neverland are Western. They have Western names. Isabella, Ray, Norman, Emma. So they don't have to worry about the whole whitewashing of the of Japanese culture, Japanese names, and so on. What happens, obviously, with the Netflix Death Note, and all that garbage.
Has anyone reached out to Scarlett Johansson to see if she's available?
The characters range in age from 5 to about 12, so she could play. She could play Isabella. She could play. Actually, she'd be awesome as the mom.
She can be whatever she wants to be.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. She would be awesome as one of the villains, as Isabella the mom. That's That actually just got me pretty jazzed.
Mhm.
That's one of the problems with casting this, though, because I can't see them. All of the kids, and this is established right at the very first episode of the anime and the first issue of the manga, all of the kids are some level of genius to super genius.
Progenius.
Supra genius. Super bizarro genius babies, as Frontalot would say.
Nice.
But it's going to be really, really difficult to cast like age-appropriate 5-year-olds with vocabularies of 18-year-olds, and then capping it with somebody who can legitimately play 12. I can't see them not aging it up to some extent.
It'll probably be aged up, because I mean I used to have that kind of argument, and I say this loosely. Obviously, it's not a direct point, but in Dawson's Creek and Gilmore Girls, because I didn't understand half the shit that came out of their mouths. And I'm like, in high school we didn't talk like this. Nobody used encyclopedia words like this.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know that it would be a particular problem for them to age it up. It really doesn't matter a whole lot whether they're 5 to 12 or whether they're 10 to 18 or whatever the age range might happen to be, or 12 to 18. Literally they could change one line about why they're the ages they are, and it's okay, fine, that works for me. So it doesn't matter, but the purists might kind of freak out about that. Then again,
yeah, but purists freak out about every damn thing.
Yes, like those Nebula Battles fans, and those Spirit Puncher fans.
They'll never realize that it's not designed just for them, but designed for a wide consumption of the audience.
Exactly.
Shut your dirty mouth. It's for me and me alone.
Go over there and tug your big daddy.
Yeah, exactly. Promised Neverland is for you and you alone.
Yes.
By the way, if you don't know what Promised Neverland is, it's one of the best mangas and animes of the past probably 5 years, maybe longer than that. It is, and it's one of the best anime adaptations too. It is tense as bejesus from the get-go right through every single one of the 12 episodes that are in the anime of this season. It's just, there's wonderful horror elements that don't go deep into actual horror or gore, so they're placed there and used for continuing tension, and it's wonderful. It's an amazing story, and possibly really deeply convoluted and involved in symbology. There was a really good analysis by the YouTuber My Mother's Basement, by Jeff Thu, about the something that, if you pay attention, gets is potentially revealed. Still hasn't been confirmed. That's sort of mind-blowing. If it is in fact the case when they get into seasons, it probably wouldn't be until season 3 that this comes out. But it's all laid out there in the way the story is structured, in literally shot composition and some symbology within books that are used in the narrative. And it's one of those, it's either the best completely wrong conspiracy theories ever crafted, or it's the author of the manga doing some super, super deep, Inception-like, layer under layer under layer. So, and if that's the case, I'm really looking forward to seeing that peeled back and revealed. But I can't recommend it highly enough. It's an excellent anime if you want to watch the anime, and I'm assuming everybody's told me it's an excellent manga from the original, although I'm not a big manga reader. Can't follow that, left to right flow. I mean, right to left flow. Just screws me up.
I tend to read them like on a CDR reader on my tablet, and then I just reverse it. and it's just, it kind of works for me.
That would work, but even then, the from panel to panel, the reading of the dialogue structure still, if you're reading it this way, the dialogue structure still goes this way. So the top right panel is the most important panel, and then it flows left and down, as opposed to a Western comic, which its top left panel is most important, and it flows right and down. And that I still, because I've been a comic book reader for so long, I'll turn a page and start over here and go, well, that sentence doesn't make any, because I have to start here. Damn it. Every page. Every time.
Just gotta turn the book upside down, man. That's all.
I can read upside down, but that would slow me down. Anyway, check it out. Looking forward to it. They just announced it, so I don't believe it has anything about when this is going to appear. Yep, no, nothing in here. So 2021 at the earliest, with delays, probably 2022, but when it comes around, I'm going to be looking forward to it. All right, folks. Time to move on to our update on Horrible People. Dun, 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 dun.
Can we just make a splash screen like that in the future? Just right across the video real quick.
Had I thought about it before I just literally thought about that, I would have drafted that up, but next time. That, of course, is J.K. Rowling that appeared on your screen. We talked about her last week. We talked about her anti-trans stance. Warner Brothers came out with a statement that was as weak sauce as statements could possibly be. And then Rowling went online with a super long essay trying to explain her position about why biological women are women and trans women aren't. It did nothing but dig a hole deeper and deeper for her to fall into. I think
she's got those billions of dollars to land on.
Well, there's that.
Right.
There is that. How can she be this stringently against the idea of learning and accepting something that's obvious to so many people out there? Now, I
presume that's a rhetorical question, maybe?
It isn't really, because if you read the nature of a lot of the Harry Potter series, it's the only works of hers I've read, a lot of it is about character growth, and a lot of it is about growing to understand differences. Even the way Harry comes to understand how he's connected to Voldemort and how he has to defeat him is kind of a sympathetic. Ultimately he has to be defeated, but it's coming to understand a little bit more about what drives Voldemort and how he came to be. And none of that is reflected in Rowling's position here. She's digging her heels in harder and harder.
I mean, when you got money and you got, and I say this with air quotes, prestige, your echo chamber is really tight.
Yep.
No one tends to disagree with the person picking up the checks.
Yep.
It's just not a thing.
True, except we live in an age of instantaneous social media feedback, and maybe it's people in her immediate circle that that won't say anything, but it's not as though that there isn't pushback from huge amounts. I mean, most of the actors who have been in her movies have come out visibly, publicly, on the record. Facebook, YouTube,
so OBS is telling me that we're getting just horrible bandwidth right now. It doesn't appear. Oh, there we go. And boom, we're back up to it. It didn't appear to be anything related to the streaming computer I'm using, maxing out at like 47% CPU. But now we're back up to basically 5 megabit per second, upload stream. So, folks, I don't know how long anybody hung in there. Luminous, the stream is stuck. Yes, that is true. But it looks like we're back. We're back on Twitch. We are back, I think, on Facebook. So anyway, all right. So let's move through this. J.K. Rowling hasn't learned crap. In fact, she's getting worse. Next topic. Speaking of old-time comic book creators, Jerry Conway is the co-creator of The Punisher. Jerry Conway, a while ago, basically asked Marvel to look into why the police are using the Punisher logo and putting it on their jackets, on cop cars, and so on, and asked Marvel to maybe ask them to stop because he was very much aware that the Punisher is not what police officers should be emulating. Well, Jerry Conway finally said, screw that, I'm not even going to worry about that, and created a line of logo products, t-shirts and so on, that use the Punisher logo and Black Lives Matter combined, and I've already ordered my shirt. What you're seeing on your screen right there are the 3 logos that you can choose from. I got the tilted skull with the red letters, and you know, I am so here for this. All of the proceeds will go to supporting various charities that support the protesters and people affected by the Black Lives Matter protests. Yes, and 1,000 times yes.
I love it. I mean, I think it's fantastic. I think it's just on the same line of reclaiming Pepe the Frog. Like, it is the best possible way to stick it to everyone, is to bring it back to what it should be. Because anyone, I honestly believe, and I made this argument on your status, or I made this point on your status. I got to stop saying argument. I made this point on your status in that only the movie versions, he was a cop.
Right.
Comic book, he was not a cop. Police officer.
And even then, in the Thomas Jane, he was federal, right?
Yes, he was still a federal cop.
Yeah.
But my point being here is, these police officers that think this is like a cool thing are most likely, I would almost say, that they're watching these movies and saying, well, he was a cop, and then he was angry about how the system works. And it's like, bro, they killed the dude's whole family, and then your own people didn't help him. That's kind of the point there. You're missing that point, is that his own people did not help him get justice.
And in comics, in some of the movies, he kills cops that are cooperating with the criminals. He is not on the cop side, folks. And if you don't see that, you haven't read the material.
Punisher is on Punisher's side. That's the only side that he's on.
But hey, you know, it's a snappy logo, and it's, you know, tough guy in, you know, off the shelf tactical gear and a lot of fancy weapons, murdering the crap out of people.
So if the Boogaloo Boys adopted it, or any of the other white supremacist militia scumbags, yeah, I can see that, because they're taking what they're seeing and they're misinterpreting it. These are cops. These are cops who are saying, my hero, I want to show you on my car or on my shirt, my hero is a guy who straight up murders people he thinks are bad. Extrajudiciously kills people.
The dissonance there is purely that, well, comes down to a lot of different factors, but one of them being is that the person you want to emulate is breaking the law to kill bad people. You, sir, are a bad person. He would fucking kill you.
As the Black Lives Matters protests have proven, is endemic within the actual police force. Breaking the law to hurt and, in some cases, kill people. That's what the cops think they can do. They think they're the Punisher.
You can't be on the side of justice and law enforcement, and then also want to sanction vigilante killing. It's you can't.
Yeah,
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. So I'm glad you inserted the word killing at the end of that, because for a second there I'm like, huh, there's an awful lot of people like Batman, and he is a vigilante, whatever else you say about him. But generally speaking, Ben Affleck movies notwithstanding, isn't a character that runs around murdering the crap out of people.
This is true.
Batman doesn't kill. But the instances where people conveniently die when Batman around are pretty high.
I'm pretty sure conveniently dying because you're firing a 30 caliber machine gun at their flamethrower tank.
Right, but even if we use the comic book comparison, like if you drop someone from like 5-story buildings onto their heels, like you're doing a whole lot to them, and if you're throwing people off the side of a building and then lassoing their leg, you probably snapped a whole lot of vertebrae on the way down.
Yeah,
like there's a whole lot of things, and someone actually a very good friend of mine made a pretty good point in that you shouldn't want to be Batman either, because Batman's a rich white guy with mental disorders and hang-ups about his parents, beating up 90% of
everyone.
Beating up people with mental illnesses like he has, but also feeding into a system that cycles these people in and out of places that he can just beat the shit out of them with.
Yep.
At least Punisher don't pretend. Punisher is like, I know that if I ever get caught, they're gonna like electrocute me 30 times over, and I've killed everybody who I feel is bad. You know, I don't kill innocent people. I only kill really bad people defined by me, and I know that I am not the moral compass in terms of this. He acknowledges all of that. There was a whole comic book arc where he was caught and placed on trial and made to face every bad thing that he's done, and he was just like, yeah, I'm a fucking shit person. I'm garbage. Like, I kill people, and yeah, I know I killed them, but they deserve to be killed, but also I deserve to be killed for killing them. Like, come on.
If that's the guy that's your hero, you don't deserve to be on a force that's motto is protect and serve.
You know, Eric Prince is probably still hiring for Blackwater.
Now there you go. I understand that Trump probably needs them or will soon. Anyway,
and one additional thing, real quick, 2
okay.
seconds.
2 seconds.
Also, if you're gonna wear that Punisher logo as a police officer, then be ballsy enough to remove your qualified immunity first, and then let's see how far you fucking go.
Yep. None of them will. Anyway, before we get too far into the rants, because I could rant about that all day, let's move over to that wonderful image.
A hero you should emulate.
100%. Miles Morales. In the big PS4 announcement announcement event, the very first thing they showed was a quick tease of the launch title for the PS4 when it comes out this holiday season, Spider-Man Miles Morales. That's an example of what the actual graphics in-game looks. That's Miles in-game. It looks like a great game. It's made by the same people that did the last Spider-Man game for the PlayStation, which was a huge hit. So you've got to assume that the gameplay is going to be similar, which was a major selling point for that game. The gameplay was fantastic from what I've heard. Haven't played it, don't have a console. My only problem with this is that, God, I wish we had this game right now, given what's going on out there. Miles Morales is a Spider-Man that we need right now. I'm sure we'll need Miles as a Spider-Man, come Christmas season 2. But boy, it would be great if we had a Miles Morales game right now.
Yeah, I agree. Or at least there is one in the pipe. So
that's actual in-game graphics. That is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the other one with Peter Parker is like gorgeous, man.
It's beautiful. It's really amazing. And if you put the two of them side by side, you'd actually be able to see the improvement in the PS5 graphics. And there's been a lot of people who said there's no way that they could do all of these things that they claimed. And it didn't help when you had things like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which supposedly claimed that it was going to show gameplay graphics, and it wasn't gameplay. It was cinematics. This is gameplay, and everything else they showed that was gameplay, it was clearly, gameplay, showed just this is one of those evolutionary steps in console quality. It's pretty impressive.
It's up there, yeah.
Um,
I've been an Xbox guy for a long time, but I may have to rethink that. It's not like I'm leaving the house anytime soon.
So they're saying that, in fact, they just did an update of this a couple of days ago. The head of European business at Sony Interactive Entertainment, Simon Rutter, said that this is not a completely new game. It should be looked at as an expansion and enhancement to the previous Spider-Man game.
I recalled that. That was pretty disappointing, I thought.
Well, it depends on whether it's sort of like the Blood and Roses or Blood and Wine expansion to The Witcher 3, which is essentially a whole new game. I mean, the amount of content in it is a full game that just happens to be a connection to the end of The Witcher 3. If they're doing that with Spider-Man Miles Morales, I'm fine with it. If it is, in fact, just a sort of expanded DLC like the Iron Heart, was it Iron Heart? Stone Heart, Heart of Stone, expansion for Witcher 3 was, then yeah, that'll be disappointing. Miles needs his own full game level game, even if it is technically an expansion on the previous game.
See, I think I'm seeing. See, if you're gonna make a game an expansion, air quotes, an expansion that detailed and that robust, then just make it its own game. It doesn't need to be called an expansion. Make it its own game. I think it would have more weight both with people like myself and a lot of other ways if it was just its own game as considered it, because a lot of people tend to interpret expansions as something that's tacked on to the main game. So the main game is Peter Parker, and then Miles Morales is just tacked on after that, and you can play him a little later outside of the main story and do a whole bunch of stuff with him. And that, if we need a game, if we really want a game with Miles Morales, give us a whole game with Miles Morales.
Right. Now, before I get on my next point, Natasha, welcome to the show. And Natasha, you ask, why do you say that? But we say a lot of things because we talk a lot. So you got to pin down exactly what is it that you're asking us. What point are you questioning about? It's possible that they could just be saying this as a marketing statement. It's connected to the previous game. So if you love the previous game, you're going to love this one too. And Peter's going to be in it at the beginning, and then it's Miles' story, or you're right, it could literally just be a kind of here's the new playable character, and you get to play through a lot of the stuff that you saw before, but it's now Miles, and that would suck. It would be cool to have Miles, but that would suck that they don't give Miles all of his own new content, because his story is every bit as fascinating as Peter's. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want to do it from the comic book, where in the Ultimate Universe, he's a replacement for Peter who died, because you don't want to kill off Peter for potential future games, make it like where they merged the Ultimates, so there's a Peter and a Miles.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, Into the Spider-Verse. You can have Miles and Peter and a whole lot of other Peters and Miles.
Exactly.
It just needs to be his own game, something that is not tacked on.
Agreed, 100%. I'm looking forward to seeing it. First, I'm looking forward to seeing it anyway, just because, yay, Miles Morales. I would look forward to it even more once we realize that it is a full game, if it is. And even if it's not, I'm still going to be excited to actually see Miles Morales in a game. Although, as Lewis said, tempered quite a bit if this is just a DLC. But that was our last topic, folks. And we have our, as I mentioned last episode, we're going to be doing the end of the show with, for anybody who has one, instead of a could we please or could we not, which we used to do, we're going to Pride Month memory. And what this is just a look at something that you remember that affected you and how you view LGBTQA plus issues, society, and things in general. And I know Greg has one, and if I can remember what mine was, because then I remembered it and Greg told me no.
Did you queue up that,
I did.
that image?
I did.
You did? Okay. So we'll go with that tonight, and I've got something else that I'll save that for next time.
Okay.
So anybody that's kind of been a regular here knows I'm kind of a book guy around here. I wanted to just throw a word out there for a book called Gideon the Ninth. It's book one of a trilogy. It's generally described as lesbian necromancers exploring a haunted space palace. It's very gothic. It's very Lovecraftian. It's very funny. If you like Lovecraft, but you have a problem, well, if you like the Lovecraft mythos, but you have a problem with the author, this Tamsin Muir is a great alternative to that. There's no creepy crawlies from beyond space-time, but queer characters. The author is queer. It's very funny. It's very gothic. It's weirdly a bit of a bodice ripper, if you know what I mean by that. But ultimately it is about interstellar bone magicians. So how you manage to cram all of those things into one book and make it work. The prose is great. The characters are funny. They're realistic for interstellar necromancers. But it's a great example of fun, interesting, well-written queer sci-fi.
I brought the image back up there for you to check out, folks, if you're looking for that. Lewis, did you have one?
I don't have an item or anything like that in that sense. I have a little short story real quick.
All right.
That's about it.
Yeah, if you want to share.
Real quick, when I was young, when I was a young man in my early teens, I was incredibly homophobic. It's hard to believe now from a lot of people whenever I say this. A lot of people are like, the things you, but no, I was incredibly homophobic. And one of the many reasons why is because, number one, growing up in El Barrio, there's not a lot of education in terms of these things. We're poor, there's not a lot of growth there. But coming out of it, I dated a woman for about a year, and she had a trans roommate. And, oh, man, I was nasty. Like, I wasn't overt nasty, but I was very passive nasty. And they were particularly respectful of me, but there was a point where where I pissed them off, and when my girlfriend wasn't there, and they put me on blast right in the apartment. I was waiting for my girlfriend. And when they put me on blast, I was like, oh, I can't believe you, blah, 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 blah. But in listening, even though I was angry and I did storm off, I came back and I apologized. And that was the beginning of my growth in terms of acceptance. Because their one major point that they said to me is, why do you spend so much time worrying about what I was? This is who I am. Accept me for who I am, not who I was. I introduced you by the name I use now. This is my name. This is the name I use. I never told you the name that I no longer use. I never told you what I was before, only what I am now. So why do you have to constantly bring up things? And they made a valid point too, in that I tend to be one of the people who bring up racial injustices and things like that a lot. And so they said to me, well, why is it okay for you to say those things and be offended, but I'm not allowed to be offended when you say these things to me? And that really kicked me in the ass, because I never once thought of it that way. Because growing up in ignorance, that's not to say that my family was ignorant. They just didn't have an education in that perspective. But growing up in ignorance, I was at least willing to learn. And I think a lot of people are also willing to learn. And some of y'all, like me, who are homophobic, you guys, it's going to be uncomfortable. You got to let people kick you in the ass. And you're going to get defensive, and that's okay. Because I don't like my people pushing back against my opinions even now, these guys can attest to that. Sometimes I can be a real dog about my opinions, but even hearing a counter opinion, even if I'm pissed about it, I always come back. To have that dialogue later when I think. Present, listen, empathize, and stop digging your heels into things.
Like J.K. Rowling. So my story is similar. It is like Greg's, related to a piece of entertainment. And like Lewis, I grew up in a fairly homophobic and even racist as well environment. I grew up in rural Maine. Poor white boy in rural Maine. You can't imagine not being in that kind of environment. And that's what I was. I would say, more casually homophobic. That is, it never occurred to me that, jokingly calling somebody homo or the F word or anything like that was a bad thing. It was, you just joked and that's what you did. And what turned me around was the people around a particular piece of entertainment. I had a good friend who had a theater. He was older than me, so I was in my senior year in high school. He had bought a theater a couple of years before, and my senior year in high school, he would run midnight movies, and for one whole year, at least, actually longer than that, but for my whole senior year, he ran the midnight show every Friday and Saturday night was Rocky Horror Picture Show. So the first, and everybody was just, oh, this is amazing, you got to go see it. And my friend Tom, who owned the theater, was, you got to come see this. So I said, okay, fine. And I went to see it, and it's beautiful, it's brilliant, it's amazing, but boy, did I get really disturbed by the just blatant homosexual imagery, the trans imagery, and everything. And I was like, okay, I'm pretty uncomfortable here. But I watched the thing, and the music was fantastic, the concept of the story, everything, it was funny, all of that I loved. And then the people I met who were Rocky stans, if I can use that modern term for something back in 1978, around it, who had they had discovered it at college in Boston and so on, and brought that awareness back up with them that summer, were fantastic. They were the most fun, energetic, exciting, entertaining people, whether they were gay, straight, or whatever, and all across the spectrum, people enjoyed Rocky Horror. And that kind of turned it around for me. It's like, it doesn't matter what the entertainment is presenting, and my views of the kind of people who might enjoy this entertainment were completely wrong. And that was like a huge eye-opener for me, and a great leap forward in me discarding even the sort of casual homophobic stuff that I was doing. Like, again, just casually using slurs, among us guys, and you throw it back and forth. So, yay, Rocky Horror.
Yeah, absolutely.
For so many reasons.
And real quick, because I just thought about it, and I won't be around for a little bit. To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar is my favorite movie. Watch it, but also watch the behind-the-scenes stuff to find out how those three actors reacted to dressing in drag, and how they had like these incredible epiphanies about it.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. Or same thing, Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Yep. Yes.
Anyway, thank you all for joining us, folks. Thank you for your patience with our stream issue. Thank you for the excellent comments and questions in the chat. And we will see you next week. Remember about the summer cosplay contest series. If you're interested in watching or participating, go to the website nerdcaliber.com and check it out. And continue to protest. Continue to keep the pressure on. Black lives do matter. But there is still a virus out there. Be safe. Keep wearing that mask. Keep cleaning your hands. Do the right things, folks. In both instances. Thank you, Spike, for giving me that statement. In both cases, do the right thing. For Greg.
Wonderlama. Have a good night.
Lewis.
Thanks again, everybody. Have a fantastic night. Stay the course.
And for me, Rodney Brown, stay safe, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.